The great reset is about to happen to commercial property, and that's going to see untold opportunities for you and me as property investors. We're going to discuss all of that with my good friend Andrew Roberts. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Ranjan. What a time ahead we have. I mean, this is going to be a fantastic few years. Goldman Sachs setting it out on a plate for us.
Now, hang on a second. You know, this is a Goldman Sachs article report that is being published in the FT today. It's all very well. But if you have been a regular at the Baker Street Property Meet, you would know that Andrew and I have been predicting this pretty much for the last 10 months. Now, the Baker Street Property Meet is, of course, the UK's #1 property investors networking meeting. 300 property investors meet in central London. You're going to want to come to one of our events on the last Wednesday of each month. BakerStreetPropertyMeet.com is where you'll find that. But let's have a look at this Goldman Sachs article. What are they basically saying here that we've been saying forever? But what are they saying?
Well, what they're effectively talking about is the fact that from a commercial property point of view, investors, when they had cheap money, had low yield expectations. The fact that we had a COVID situation caused businesses to adapt different working processes. So those two elements alone have caused the market to sort of overpay, shall we say, in the past.
That is very, very true. I mean, at the end of the day, what do you mean by interest rates? If interest rates are 0.5%, then you're not getting much for your money in the bank. And at the end of the day, if you're owning a commercial property as a buy-to-let investment, you're going to expect a greater return on your money than just sticking it in the bank. Now, with interest rates rising dramatically, if you can get 5% on money sitting in the bank, then you're going to be wanting a greater yield from an investment in commercial property. So therefore, because commercial property is valued based on a yield basis, the value of that property comes down. And coupled with the fact that everyone is working from home, watching This Morning or whatever, God knows who the presenters are now after the latest scandal, but they're watching This Morning or whatever.
This YouTube channel, right?
Well, I hope so, while they're working from home. And no one's going shopping anymore, they're all at Amazon and .com and whatnot. So that has changed the game. Yeah. It changed the requirement for commercial property.
Well, not only have the requirements changed because the market has changed, when you talk about interest rates on a depositor's money at 5%, if you're a commercial property investor and you're investing in a commercial asset, then the cheapest you can borrow that money is now 7%. Now, when you look at that and we go back to the COVID period, people were buying industrial warehouses at 3.5%, thinking, oh, well, that's good money because everybody's going into distribution. But what we're seeing is the prices are rapidly falling as the yields adjust. So people have overpaid and the tide's going out and they're all caught without their swimming shorts.
That's probably very true, but there's also a massive tsunami coming in with commercial property loans.
Yeah.
Because, I think what people don't realise is that buy-to-let loans, very similar to residential homeowner loans. You've got a 25-year loan, you pay up every month, and they'll leave you alone. But commercial loans ain't like that, are they?
No, commercial loans typically are a 5-year loan that's renewed every 5 years. And when I say renewed, the bank lean in and they go, so how is this asset performing? How is the tenant? Is the tenant still a good covenant? What is happening in the marketplace? Well, when interest rates rise, the banks expect you to get a better yield. Now, the numbers that Goldman Sachs are quoting is there is £1 trillion worth of loans maturing in the next 18 months. 1 trillion in the next 18 months. And they are describing this as a big reset where those loans will not be renewed on the same terms. So that either means the banks are going to foreclose on the borrower has to sell off, but nobody's going to buy at the price they bought at, or people are going to have to put their hand in the pocket to find cash to bring themselves in covenant to stay within the loan to values that they have. So there's either a lot of money coming out the economy through people pumping it into their property portfolios, or there's a lot of money being written off assets that have been overpriced when they were bought.
Very, very true. And a lot of people have got, I mean, we often on this show bang on about local authorities. Local authorities have decided to take taxpayers, council taxpayers' money and piss it up their wall, thinking they're property investors and buying swathes of commercial property. Croydon Council have gone bust over such endeavours. They've wasted a huge amount of money buying stuff which hasn't proved to be solid investments, which no one in the private sector would have touched. But these people aren't commercially minded.
Well, I remember about 12 months ago we did a video on Slough Council buying funky hotels that are themed. And again, that scheme went bust. We did another one during the lockdown of another council that went bust.
Are you struggling to find your next commercial to residential conversion project? Well, over the next 2 years, virtually every UK bank branch will close. Banks are fabulous buildings in prime locations, and thanks to permitted development rights, they're really easy to convert to alternative uses under a light touch planning regime. My team have put together a list of over 500 UK bank branches which are poised for imminent closure. And for a limited period only, you can download this list absolutely free. Your next commercial property project is on this list, so download it now and enjoy the rest of the video.
But we own a building in Leicester, and all of our neighbours are basically council pension funds, council funds that own those buildings. How crazy are they?
That has been absolutely crazy. And you know, I've been speaking to a few people in the lending community, and there is also dismay that some lenders have got into lending on commercial property loans without fully understanding what the commercial marketplace is. So in the era of low interest rates, some residential lenders have decided to set up commercial lending arms using their underwriting knowledge from the residential world. Now, why is that so bad? Well, residential property is valued based on a bricks and mortar basis, on a basis of comparison. So people look at, you're valuing a terraced house, how does it compare to other recently sold terraced houses of the same ilk in that locality? With commercial property, you can have two identical commercial units next door to each other, and they can look identical in bricks and mortar, but they can be valued completely differently, because the value of the commercial property is dependent on the income it produces, so it's valued based on its tenant, the quality of the tenant and the cash flow produced by that tenant. So commercial property is just a completely different kettle of fish.
It absolutely is. And we were talking earlier today about a site that we purchased only a couple of weeks ago, and the next door neighbours' sites either side are up for sale in auction, and they're going up. The property we purchased was vacant, hadn't been occupied for over 2 years. The neighbouring sites, however, are tenanted with decent coveted tenants, and the price that they're selling at is significantly higher than was purchased.
So we said in the beginning it's going to be a great commercial property reset. How much will commercial property prices fall by? That is coming up. But in the meantime, if you're new to this channel, make sure you like. Tell us what you think about commercial property investing in the comments below. Also smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you're notified when we upload a new video. Just want to tell you a little bit about the Baker Street Property Meet, the UK's largest property investors networking meeting. Now, we have 2 special videos for you, which we normally make available just to our VIP community. But for a limited period of time, we're making them available to you absolutely free. Now, one video is Andrew taking you through the changing marketplace that we're going to see over the next 3 years. And the other video is myself taking you through my 7-step guide to seeking out and profiting from the opportunities that this recession will bring. So you're going to not want to miss those 2 videos. You can get them absolutely free for a limited period only. The where to get them from is on the screen below and in the description. But we're talking about our predictions for commercial property values. Now, in a previous video, an episode of Property Breaking News, we talked a little bit about where we saw the residential market going, and our views were anywhere between 10 and 15%. But commercial property is different. Go on, stick your neck out, Andrew. What do you think?
I would say, I would certainly say that the price of commercial property is going to halve. My experience so far of transactions done, and when you factor in the relevant formula, rent divided by 100 multiplied by the yield, that is halving the price of commercial property. So for me, I'm convinced commercial property will more than halve because there is a significant surplus, interest rates are rising, people are finding it a little bit more challenging to raise cash. Therefore, because they're finding it challenging to raise cash, it is now a cash buyer's market and there are fewer buyers. So when there's fewer buyers, like we've seen in the residential video, what starts to happen is it switches into a buyer's market. We'll also find creative deal structuring the order of the day.
Interesting prediction, Andrew. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure whether it will be as dramatic as that. I think the average will be bad, but there will be building types and places where you'll see not that much of a fall. And I think the key issue is that I think where you'll see the most dramatic falls is where a commercial building has no alternative commercial use, and or it is very difficult to use permitted development rights to repurpose it to residential use. If those two criteria fit the building you're looking at, the falls will be dramatic. If that building you're able to repurpose it to an alternative commercial use and there's a market for it, because there are still areas where you can't let a shop in a high street, and there are areas where shops do readily find a tenant even in today's market. Those sort of properties will maintain some value, but it will certainly be way off what they were a couple of years ago, maybe 20% or so. And if a property is convertible under permitted development rights, then you'll find the falls won't be as dramatic. But I think what you probably will agree with me is what we find is that a lot of people know now that there is something with permitted development rights that allow you to convert buildings to residential use. But everyone knows that, but people don't know the nuances. And it's about what our students learn from us, and they get the nuances and the detail, which allows them to take borderline buildings which otherwise people don't have a clue what to do with, or take buildings where other people think you can make 5 flats but you can really make 8. It's knowing the rules and what you can and can't do allows you to get the maximum out.
I'd absolutely agree with you, and I'd also contribute to what you were saying about the price falls. It's a bit like the average house price went up 5%. The average house price fell 5%. The average property in commercial will fall by 50%. However, those who know and understand what to do will find properties where they can add massive value to it over and above what the property is valued at, and the price falls will be restricted and very severe in those assets, as you quite rightly identify, that have no repurposable use.
But, as I always say, who wants to be average in life? Who wants to be average in anything in life? If you're a subscriber to this channel, which you should be, subscribe, hit the bell icon, comment and all of that. What we encourage you to be is way above average. And way above average is about having that edge. And that's what you need really in this market, because there is no such thing as an average property, be it residential or commercial. It's looking at the ways in to pick up commercial properties which have fallen the most but have maximum enhancement value from repurposing. It's picking up those and getting real capital appreciation in real time when the average market is doing diddly squat.
And I think I would also add, knowing exactly the areas of the country where you can get that massive uplift, because just because you can do it under permitted development does not mean to say you should do it. Some properties, you're just not going to get the uplift. You're not going to get the value. And that will mean you are average or below average in terms of performance against others in this market. And this is a time in the marketplace when you have to make the most of it, capitalizing upon all your skills, your knowledge and your experience and the opportunities out there. Don't go chasing things that are going to take you 2-3 years to bring to market. You need to get in and out of deals very quickly.
And of course, you know, as I said, I mean, this discussion was really started because of this article in Goldman Sachs. Why do you think they're so late to the party? I mean, we've been talking about this for 10 months plus.
I think they're not necessarily late to the party. I think what they're doing is, as global consultants and bankers, they've been advising their clients. What they're now doing is basically putting the press release out there to say, carnage ahead. Businesses are changing, companies are going bust, there is carnage ahead. Prepare. Lock down the hatches, prepare your ship for rocky waters.
Okay, in summary then, you know, it's not just rising interest rates that has changed yield expectations. It is the fact that there's massive oversupply, particularly through change of shopping habits and also change of office working practices. That has meant that there's a lot less demand for property. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, we've also got a recession. You know, with interest rates going up, what that's doing is decreasing discretionary spend by members of the public. And discretionary spend is usually spent on goods and services provided by businesses. Those businesses occupy commercial real estate and they have to contract. So the requirement for space, for commercial space, is shrinking at an alarming rate, which is going to see this great reset in values.
Absolutely. Well, the big thing is, with this contraction that you're seeing, it is there's a mismatch of supply and demand of real estate. There is a huge demand for residential property. And what we have at the moment is the major house builders going, we're shutting up shop, we're firing our builders, we're not doing any development work, because the markets are uncertain for them. Whereas we've got Michael Gove on the other hand going, I want to see at least 56,000 more homes built through permitted development and delivering enhanced permitted development reforms. Now, to me, that is basically saying you're being incentivized to build these homes, and if, like us, you develop them and then you keep them and rent them, the rental market, because of the inflation, is rising at a rate of over 10% per annum. So your margins are growing, your yields are growing, and therefore you're winning double bubble.
Now, last time we saw a collapse in commercial property values, it was quite some time ago. Many people have not invested in those sort of times. So I would say that this is actually the first, and these collapses in commercial values have happened before, but this is the first ever collapse in commercial values of real estate, where we also have permitted development rights. Now, the last time this happened, I was doing commercial property. I was buying some commercial property, looking to convert those to residential uses, but I had to go through a full planning application process to get those permissions, and that was a pain. You know, planning process is a pain. This is the first recession, a collapse in which is going to see a collapse in commercial values, as recessions usually do, where we actually have permitted development rights, which allow you to easily repurpose these buildings and take them from low commercial values per square foot to much higher, 3 or 4 times as high residential values per square foot under a light touch planning regime called permitted development. And that's the #1 strategy to clue yourself up on and educate yourself on to make a profit from this recession. Because as we always say, recessions always see a transfer of wealth. They always see a transfer of wealth from people who are not educated, who don't know, to people who are educated and do know. And what you want to be on is the right side of that divide. To start on that process, if you haven't already done so, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you're notified when we release new videos, because we're going to keep you up to date on how to profit from the opportunities ahead.
Well, I think to close on this, not only is the permitted development opportunities, but the government is putting £500 million of our money into New Homes England to build out new homes on brownfield sites. So it's got to be good. If the government are doing it and we're doing it, why are you not doing it?
That's it from us, so see you guys in the next video. The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers, and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.